This final tip could be the most important tip. I've got 5 tips that are going to help you gain the edge on an aggressive opponent. Today, I'm with 2-time national champ, Iman Jomo. He's going to help me demonstrate all the skills you need to beat the aggressive fighter. Tip 1. Use your jab to blind and keep an opponent at distance. Try and keep your opponent an arm's length away from you. As they're coming in being aggressive, extend that jab, bring the shoulder to your chin, and keep them on the end of it. If they can't get past your jab, they're not going to land punches on you. Keep the jab in their face to blind and affect their vision. If they can't see what they're doing, they're going to struggle to land attacks on you. This being said, you have to move your feet with a jab. If you're just staying there and pulling out the jab, you're going to get caught, you're going to get timed. Move your feet while scoring the jab, while blinding the opponent. Tip 2. Use counter punching to put the opponent on pause. Sugar Ray Leonard was so great at moving his feet. This would force the aggressive fighter to get frustrated and commit to shots they didn't really want to commit to. Once they did, he had counter punches installed, let his hands go, and got out of there. Watch Sugar Ray Leonard against Hagler and you'll see what I mean. He moves, catches the attack and lets his hands fly. Now make sure after you've attacked, you don't leave your feet there. You have exits. If you don't have exits to your counter punches, the fighter's just gonna pile up an attack and overwhelm you. You have to make sure when you let those counter punches go, you have an exit strategy as well. Get out of there safely and keep the aggressive fighter moving. Tip 3. For this next technique, if you're someone that finds yourself getting stuck in the mud when you're throwing punches and when you're trying to counter punch, you need to learn how to punch going backwards. Being able to punch going backwards will allow you to score on the opponent as they're coming forwards. You'll see this technique with a lot of Soviet style boxers. They're scored on how to punch going backwards with an aggressive fighter. For example, watch Bivol vs Canelo. The way he could punch going backwards caused so many problems for Canelo. If you're catching the opponent while going backwards, they're going to be a lot more cautious about their work and probably slow down their aggression. A problem that you can face punching backwards is that moving back in straight lines will cause you to land on the ropes or in the corner. You want to make sure after punching backwards, you can turn off your work, you can circle around the ring. We don't want to end up on the ropes with an aggressive fighter because that's where they'll really let their work off. Make sure you can move laterally after scoring backwards, reset, go back to your boxing. Do not purely rely on punching going backwards to beat the fighter. Tip 4. Now this comes under one of the most used terms in amateur boxing. A lot of old school coaches will tell you be first and be third. Being first and being third means being first to attack, ready to defend, and the last to attack. Expect a counter from the aggressive opponent. If you work first, know that the aggressive fighter is going to use that as an entry to land on you. If you're aware of this, you can defend and also finish off last. This is such an effective technique to outscoring your opponent, especially the aggressive fighter that's going to leap into their shots and expose themselves. If you finish third, you can score some good shots on them. On the contrary, don't get overconfident with staying there and landing on the opponent. Remember, the aggressive fighter wants you there. They want to tear it up. If you stay there to get hit, they're going to land just as much as you. Score first, score third, reset, get out of there. You see, a lot of these tips today involve your footwork and not being there for the opponent. It's all about creating dead space for them to fall into. You make that space, let them walk into it. Tip 5. This final tip could be the most important tip. An aggressive fighter is always best at attacking in straight lines. To nullify these straight line attacks, we're gonna have to learn to box laterally. Now this means boxing around an opponent. When boxing someone aggressive with heavy hands, the best thing to do is keep their feet moving. Now if you can move left and you can move right, the opponent is gonna struggle to plant their feet and set up a good attack. As you can see, the key to most of these tips today is to do with your footwork. And that's what you need to beat an aggressive fighter. You can't be stuck in the mud when you've got an over-aggressive fighter. You have to make them move, you have to make them make mistakes. Now this being said, there's a good way to move and there's a bad way to move. You can move both ways, however, there's pros and cons to moving either way. If you're fighting an orthodox fighter, I'd recommend you circle to your right. This way, when you're moving to the right, you're getting away from the opponent's strong hand. Moving to the left only puts you in a position where you're going to get caught with the right hand. When fighting a southpaw fighter, step into your left and rotate into your left will get you out of the way of their rear hand. This will also put you in a better position to land your punches. Keep the opponent moving. A negative to this can be over movement. Now over movement will cause you to get tired quickly. This will allow the aggressive fighter to catch up with you and start landing their attacks. Make sure you're only expending the energy you need to. Don't over move for the sake of it, move when you have to. Make sure you're following Iman. I'm gonna leave his socials in the description below. He's only 18 and he's got such a bright future ahead. You don't wanna miss it.